And hey, folks, I'm not sure if you heard that first part. We're having a little difficulties here with the computer just for a second there. Sorry about that. Ended up having to actually restart again, but super sorry. Normally we're getting on start a little bit better on time, but um, yeah. So basically, Ralph, you're there. Ralph, are you there? Can you hear me? Okay.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you go ahead and type in the audio, folks, into the chat box if you can? How you hear us okay, and if our audio is okay, if Ralph's is a little bit more quiet or louder than mine, just so we've got some pretty even audio, and then we'll get the show on the road. Go ahead and say hi again, Ralph.
Hi again, Ralph. Uh,
Cool,
yeah,
cool.
looking forward to this one, man. This is an important one.
Yeah, totally, totally. Looks good, looks
Are
good.
we?
Everything's good. Perfect. Awesome. Welcome, Stephen, from Brisbane, and it's pretty early for you too. Sorry about. Usually we do. Sometimes we like to do them a couple hours later in the afternoon, so the folks in Australia can hop on without it being too early in the morning. But thanks for coming on. Appreciate it. Super excited. Lots of stuff happening as we head into summer. We're actually. Well, maybe we'll give you a little sneak peek. Ralph and I are pretty excited. Yesterday we just had a call. It's I had a pretty awesome call with Ryan Dice and Molly Pittman, and looks like we're going to be launching a new show together, a podcast. So actually, Ralph, should I 5 a.m. see some feedback on the title that we've got uh, right now, or is it a little too early to let them know because it might be changing in one of the titles that we've got thinking of? What do you think?
All I'm thinking now is we better pull out. Now that
What?
we've not pull out, even I think we had a good call, Brian
I
and
lost you.
Molly.
I couldn't hear any of that at all.
No,
No, I think
okay.
that was your internet, or was it mine? Was Ralph sounding okay there, you guys, or was it just me? Was it on hit?
I can hear you just fine. So let's see here.
Yeah, yeah, you
Ralph's
were
is
fuzzy there for sure. Um,
I was fuzzy.
Everybody says Ralph sounds bad. You seem to be sounding good now.
All right. How about now?
Yeah, you sound
Ralph
good
sounds
now.
bad. He was breaking up better now. Okay.
Just
Good, better.
you're just quieter, but
Okay.
um,
Gotcha.
yeah, okay,
So
good. So,
now I I'm getting a little bit of an echo. Maybe it is my thing.
do
Maybe
you have
I'll
headphones in?
restart. I do, yeah. I do. So all right, why don't you kick it off? I'll figure it out on my end here. So
Okay.
just keep an eye on the questions
Yeah,
box.
like yeah, I agree, Yanko. It was more of an internet thing for you. It was internet, like when it's slow, it was like doing that. So I don't know how your internet is, but usually you don't have an issue and it sounds fine right now. But anyway, so we're super excited. We're going to be launching a show together um, about traffic, mostly paid traffic strategies and a lot of pretty cool stuff. And we've got a really cool uh, kind of storyboard I've been outlining of creating case studies and debate panels, and really super excited. And we're going to be partnering with Digital Marketer in that show. So uh, Ralph and I and Molly are going to be the main hosts for the show. So um, any topics you guys are interested in us chatting about, or if you have any cool case studies that you want to maybe share, let me know, because we're going to be doing a lot of that, but very detailed stuff. So like 2, 3, 4 episodes on one case study, so people get to really see behind the curtain. So today's training, let's get right into it. So what we're going to do today, mostly we're going to be inside. We're going to be online. It's not going to be a bunch of slides. So let's just kind of get right into it now. Target audience research. This is obviously a super important topic. Some things have changed recently. A lot of the core activities you should be doing haven't changed a whole lot, at least in the initial the initial start of this, of compared to some of the modules that I've got inside the members area. But there's been some big changes with Facebooks that you guys want to make sure and be aware of and capitalize on what we're going to talk about today. So, uh, first of all, some obvious stuff. First of all, you need to know who your avatar is. There's a lot of different ways to do that. Hopefully, you already have a very good idea on who your avatar is. What are their likes, interests, behaviors, if you haven't ran any surveys, definitely running some surveys to your list is a really, really good idea to find out what they're really looking for. Now running surveys can really, really help you even more on the other end when it comes to creating your offer and your lead magnet and your copy and your programs and stuff like that. But it also helps a lot for target audience research, especially if you ask the right questions. So there's nothing wrong with using a survey to ask questions like what things do you like to do, or maybe give them some options or open-ended questions. And you might find out that people will share the things they like, and you might find some things in common. So there's a lot you can do before you get into Facebook. And then really, who are your biggest competitors? That's the biggest thing that we do. We start to we create a spreadsheet and just start to brain dump on all the different competition and people that are in your space using the tools that we're going to talk about today. So, and then also always be thinking about what are some interests, topics, behaviors, activities that your audience may have a high likelihood of having in common. Perry Marshall used to use the word right angle marketing a lot. So if a lot of times you might be in, for example, have an audience that maybe you're selling ammunition or something like that, right? Well, this is super basic, but right, typically, you're probably going to have pretty good luck targeting people that like Republican, things to do with the conservative Republican. They don't have anything to do with guns or ammunition, but that a majority of your audience has those beliefs. So the more you can think of that way, the better. And especially when it comes to overlay lookalike audience targeting. So now that we can really do this better today than we could have a year ago, when you start to get conversion pixel lookalike audiences and you can create those, and then you can start to test some broader topic related things that your audience has in common, but might not have anything to do with your actual product or service. That's a big one there that you can really play around on, especially when you're trying to scale out and grow things, scale out and increase your spend. So, really the best resources, in my opinion, there's lots of tools and software out there, but we've always found the best resources right inside Facebook. And I recommend 80-20 in this process. You're going to get 80% of your results from 20% of your efforts. And so in my opinion, yeah, you could be out there using 10, 15 different tools, but honestly, if audience insights, Facebook graph search, if you just spend 80 to 90% of your time using those two, you're going to be fine. And then using the data that Facebook gives you. So we recommend starting with Facebook audience insights, which we're going to show you here in a second, then go into Facebook graph search, and then kind of going back and forth between those two, because you'll find that there's some stuff that you can't pull in audience insights. You can't do as much combination targeting, like intersection stuff that we'll show you that you can do with Facebook search. And then getting into the Facebook Ads Manager or Power Editor and just looking at their suggestions that they use, and then starting to add all those into your ongoing spreadsheet that you're using as kind of a initial brain dump, and then a place to start to organize your different kind of ad groups and stuff like that. So Google is also a great way to go, and Amazon. I love going to Amazon when I'm trying to figure out different audiences, different experts related to maybe products people are buying in that space. You can find a lot of information inside Amazon just by starting to do some searching and starting to go down and look at other products. People who bought this also bought this, and then find companies that are advertising paid Amazon listings on certain product pages. And then Amazon is also a great place to find good copy and find out, like, start going through the review section. I like looking through the reviews and the comments on products, and you can really, especially if you go to the exact kind of very similar product or service as yours or your clients, and finding out what people are complaining about, find out what they're complaining about, find out what they're happy about. And now you have that whole, people, we know a lot of people are motivated by, they say, traditional copywriting says that people are twice as motivated by fear, right? So somebody is, twice as motivated to not lose $10 as they are to gain $10. So, or they're equally motivated to gain $5, um, or to gain $10 as they are to lose $5. The whole point is, in my opinion, that whole theory actually isn't quite that way. I think it's more of a factor of some people are more motivated by fear and others are more motivated by gain. But there's probably a higher percentage of people that are more motivated by fear. So like, this is a little bit side topic, but I think it's actually important. Um, I'm a person that's more motivated by gain. I've always been that way. I'm an optimist. Um, so I'm a person that I resonate with fear-based copy, but I don't really resonate that well with it. I more resonate with what can happen. So um, think about that in your guys' whole grand scheme of marketing with your ads and your offers. That's, I think, actually kind of one of those common tips that people teach in copywriting that's kind of wrong. I think it's more of a type of audience that you're targeting, not necessarily everybody's motivated by fear, but you have to kind of hit both angles all the time. So Amazon's a great place for that. SimilarWeb.com is one of my favorite tools out there too. It's a free tool that actually gives a lot of data on just affinity, data. So you can look up a website, you can see their traffic, you can see other, sites people visit and stuff like that. There's other tools out there like Quantcast, and then there's paid tools like AdBeat and what runs where, but they don't help a whole lot with Facebook ads as much as they do with banner retargeting. But so you can definitely use some paid software like whatrunswhere.com and AdBeat, which are 200 for AdBeat, I think 300 for what runs where. But that's a little bit better off for display advertising and stuff. So basically, here's the basic process we're going to go into here right now. So is use audience insights, start there, okay? And any existing lists, databases that you have, you're going to start there and you're going to start to figure out what data Facebook spits out based on their information. And then you're going to go from there. And then you're going to start really, as you start to get data from Facebook Audience Insights, Facebook Search, start running campaigns and then gathering more data, okay? Gathering more data and getting conversions to your pixel. This is key. This is where things have changed a lot. And we're going to show you, we'll talk about this in a minute a little bit more, but this is a big deal. I mean, Ralph and I just had a call. We're like on an hour call with Dirk, who's has the same account manager as us as Facebook, and he's spending about $100,000 a month with one client, and it's all about the conversion pixel. All about the conversion pixel. Once you start to get to that point where you can at least spend $300 a day plus, and so we use this interest targeting, this research that we're going to show you today. But when it comes to like scaling the stuff out, it really, really is about tapping into Facebook's smartness. They are really getting good at this, but you got to get the data. And so the more data you have that conversion pixel, the better your targeting will be. I mean, it's really, they're targeting your ads, and you can literally, we're finding some cases where we used to not be able to target lookalike audiences only without overlaying. So that's like basically when you're saying, hey, Facebook, create a 2 million person lookalike audience based on the characteristics, likes, interests, and behaviors as my leads, and let's say you have 100 conversions, Facebook, we can now, like, we're starting to get good results with certain clients targeting that 2 million, 2.5 million person audience only with no overlays at all, because the amount of data that we're getting. But one thing I think, Ralph, and you can chime in here too if you want, but this is really a case-by-case basis, but I think we're seeing that the big factor here, the more important factor, is amount and number of conversions, even compared to like types of conversions. Like we used to think that if we had, let's say, 300 opt-in conversions, let's say we had 1,000 opt-in conversions and we had 100, or we had 50 or 100 sales conversions. We used to always think that you always want to, use that lookalike audience based on your sales because it's a buyer, right? It's not a lead. But
Right.
we're finding that it's if you have 1,000 lead conversions compared to 50 customer conversions, the 1,000 lead conversions audience is kills it every day.
Yeah, totally. Hopefully you can hear me. How's my audio?
It's okay, not great.
Okay. Huh.
Yeah,
Weird. Um,
that's pretty good, I think.
that's better.
Yeah,
When I'm not talking, it's better.
it's good now.
That was a joke. No, I think the biggest thing to change in interest targeting alone on Facebook is that conversion pixel lookalike audience, in my opinion. Because I mean we've done a lot of educational stuff on targeting, on interests, and all these other sorts of things, which is like your base. You definitely want to do that, and you want to get that right. And we're always kind of refining it. And we actually just kind of got in an argument about 2 seconds ago before this call about like how much pain you can tolerate using specific interests before you get to the magical number of 100 conversions. Because you want to get 100 conversions onto your conversion pixel, right, Keith? And then you create a lookalike audience off those, because that is now a unique audience really for you.
Okay, so you got to restart or get better internet. It's not working well. I'm not sure why. I've never had this issue with all our calls.
Hmm.
So if you can restart and maybe like
All right.
reset your internet, um, and then because it's really bad.
I'm
So
plugged right into the router. Okay. All right. Let me.
um,
I'll drop off and I'll come back
so
on.
I was gonna give you the controls to go into the audience insights, but and then start to go from there to the search. But I'll just kind of pull it up on my side here, while you're restarting, um, and then um, and then kind of go from there. So go ahead and restart. Okay, so basically, yeah, start running campaigns, start creating lookalike audiences, and start experimenting. And what Ralph was just saying was basically the big key is getting if you can get at least 100 conversions, and then start creating those lookalike audiences. It's a big difference. It's a huge deal. Okay, so that's exactly what he was saying. So it's weird. Ralph's never had any issues with his internet or audio, so he should be okay when he comes back. We have calls all the time. We've already had 2 calls today about with clients and stuff, and I've never had any issues. And we use GoToMeeting, so he should be okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and let's see here, pull this up here. Whoops, and let's see. I'm gonna go ahead and pull up Audience Insights. So from this one here. So one of the first places that you're going to start, if you have your any audiences as far as lists that you can upload, is go here. So if I go to custom audiences, I can just kind of put my cursor in there and I can see the different audiences that we've already uploaded into Facebook. And so let's go to, let's see, we don't want to do, let's go to, um, I want to do the all list. No, we want to do. Why isn't it pulling up? It should be wait. Not showing the all opt-ins ones, but we need to find a larger. I'm not sure what happened here, but let's just do this. Here we go. This might be. Just start grabbing a few of them here. We should have over 100K, but yeah, this doesn't pull up data enough. Normally we have enough in here. Not sure why it's not pulling all the data, but let's just start grabbing them. This helps. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so if you have noticed a second ago when I only had like 30,000 on here, up here, for my monthly active people. When I clicked on page likes, it didn't show the data. So the bummer part about Facebook Audience Insights is if you don't have a big enough list here or enough visitors, you're not going to get the best data, which is the the audience insights, the likes and interests that you can target as in your ads. But that's okay. The cool thing too, though, there is even if you don't get this data, let's say you upload 5,000 or 500, you'll still get a lot of data with demographic data and household. Like you'll get household income. I can look at the income kind of stuff. I can look at purchase data. I can look at a lot of this stuff in here, and this is really good information just to know whether you are running Facebook ads or not. Okay, and like I said, the demographic data. This is big here. So looking at the women, men, and those types of things when you're trying to really optimize your campaigns. The education stuff is a big deal. We target a lot of college only stuff, and this is why 74%. Okay, so but then you have the page like data, and this is the best place to start when it comes to starting to fill out that spreadsheet. We basically just start with a blank Google Drive spreadsheet, Google Doc, Excel spreadsheet, and we start to just dump in all this data. All these, I would write down everything you can here that you think, if it's something that's totally off, then maybe not, right? But you're going to start going through the categories. You're going to start going through the page likes and start putting them in the list. You can, after you start to create this master list, then you can start to categorize things. Maybe you have 4 or 5 different columns on your spreadsheet, depending on what your business is. So maybe, for example, if you're in fitness, you might have general nutrition. One of them, you might have fitness, like workout. So you have like fitness, one of them's like nutrition, and one of them's like just health and wellness, well-being, so you might have 3 categories. So that's what you can do. You don't have to initially do that, but you can. It just depends on, your business and what you're trying to accomplish. So this is a big one here. And then the cool thing is what I can do is like I can go like this and I can say, let's just put in Wayne Dyer here. So copy that and let's just go ahead and X out of all these. And notice how I did that at the top here and X out all of them at the same time. And then let's just go ahead and put in Wayne Dyer. I thought I copied it, but I didn't. So now I can go in here and I can see that if we know Wayne Dyer is one of the top page likes here, then we want to start there, right? And then we can start to go and we can see what's showing up here. These are more topical categories, and a lot of these are all audiences that you can target, okay? And of course, this is going to be even better stuff here. And then what we like to do is we just like to start pulling this and grabbing each one of these and seeing what shows up and what results you get. If you, let's put in like soulful women, it's going to be a lot different than what Wayne Dyer comes up with, right? So let's put in soulful woman. So now we've got a lot different results over here. And then what I can do is I can do soulful woman and then Wayne Dyer and see what comes up. And so you can start to do combinations inside Audience Insights. Okay, so, and then of course you can adjust your age and you can adjust everything over here. There's so many things you can do. You can start to do connection targeting, similar to how the ads manager shows up. So I can go to put a page like Perry Marshall in, and or in this case we've got let's put Jack Canfield in, and we've got Wayne Dyer. So now we've got people that like Jack Canfield and also Soulful Woman and Wayne Dyer. So now you're starting to see some different audiences here, right? A lot different. Now we're starting to get a little bit more business related, really. So you can start to see what you can do. So these are pages that are connected to people that have friends of Jack Canfield. So, and then you have a whole nother section here with advanced. We've got behaviors, language, relationship status, education, a lot of the stuff that you're seeing inside the Ads Manager. Now, also the cool thing is I can actually go up here and I can save anything that I have. So if I have a search here and I like the results that I see with these combinations over here, I can click save and I can actually save that as an audience. Then I can use that audience as a target audience in my ads, which is really, really cool. So let's see here. So I'm just looking at the questions. Okay, cool. So this is really fun to do, and I know a lot of you on this have already done this, so we don't want to go through it too much here, but I just wanted to really hit on it. And then I want to go into the next thing you're going to do is you're going to go to Facebook, okay, and use the search. So I can go that link not work? Oh shoot. Let me repost that link just in case. It's probably too late now, but I think he's on the call anyways. He probably found it. It's all over the, yeah, he's all over the members area there. So this is the search. In case you don't already know this, you're gonna write this one down. Pages liked by people who like, and I'm gonna put dominate web media. Okay. And let's see here. Oh, I gotta make, that's right, he wasn't a, make Ralph a presenter again here. I thought he already would have been when he came back on, but I don't even see him on the list here. Oh, there he is. There you go, dude. You should be back on now. Sorry about that. You there, Ralph?
I am here.
Sorry about that. I didn't realize you were. I didn't realize you wouldn't be back as an organizer because I didn't actually add you as a panelist before the webinar. But is there anything that I missed on the audience insights? I mean, we'll kind of be going back and forth as we start to get a little more detailed here, specifics. But while I was in there.
You know what I would add is just, I mean, with the one that you were using, that seems to, for audience, when you were putting in the custom audiences way up in the upper left-hand corner, that number seems to fluctuate as far as how many people or how big the list has to be in order to gather data. Because I've done it in the same account with just one of those lists that you were doing, I got the same data. I think they're messing around with this a little bit. But anyway, on the custom audiences, if you've got a large customer list or if you've got a lead list, that's your best way to get really good insights as far as what you should be targeting for interests. But short of that, definitely go after the specific interests, the ones that are similar to your ideal avatar, and you can really start off and get some really good interest targeting. I tend to go down to that page likes area and then sort by relevance and then also sort by affinity and see if they're different. Now, if you hold the mouse like over like the little eye there, it gives you a little bit of an idea as to what it is. Most likely to be relevant to your audience based on affinity, page size, and the number of people. Those are typically the ones that are actual interests inside Facebook because they're larger. But then I always sort of cross-check it with the affinity and then sort it by affinity. I think the default is relevance, I believe. But if you click on the affinity column there, just to your right,
yep,
you sometimes get a different list. So, and it's just good to sort of look at that because there might be you might be one interest away from just having a killer campaign. So I just tend to like that area of audience insights more than anything else, especially when you're talking about just doing individual interests, like one interest per ad set. I really do like that. Even though Joe Vitale and Mark Victor Hansen and John DeMartini are very, very similar. I mean, they're all like, secret guys, guys in the movie. You could potentially lump them together into an ad set. We don't want to get into a debate on that one, Keith, but you could. But get even more granular data, you should definitely separate them out initially in your ads, one interest per ad set. That is unless you have a really, really specific target market. Now, on this particular client, their target market.
Hey, Ralph, you got to call in.
Sound issues?
Yeah, it's the same.
All right, let me
Can you
call
just
in.
call in? Okay, cool. So I'm going to touch on the organizational stuff while you're calling in. And we'll go from there. He should be on in a second. So basically, when you're in here, like, get over here and put in as many interests as you can. I mean, put in like 4, 5, 6 of them combined of your top 4, 5, or 6 and see what spits out here. Those are going to be your best places to start. Okay. So the other thing is that once you start to build up this whole list of potential audiences, how do you organize your ad sets, right? How do you do this? This is a big topic of debate. And I'm going to give you what I think you should do. And this is what we usually do, unless we can't because of budget restrictions, time restrictions, all those types of things. There's always going to be specific situations you have where you can't do it exactly like somebody suggests. So just realize that, okay? So let's say that we want to start with these 10 audiences in our first campaigns. Well, we know that in some cases that if I combine like 4 or 5 of these together and I tell Facebook to optimize based on conversions, and the larger audience that I have, in the long run, we're going to get better results because Facebook will start to optimize that, and the cost per lead might start out at 12, and then it'll start to come down, way down after a few days if you have enough conversions in your system. So that being said, if this is a new campaign, and we've made this mistake before with just not having quite enough budget or just like, resources and just wanting to get things started, where that if you've never ran anything before and you know that like combining some of these is going to probably give you the best results tapping into Facebook's algorithm, I would still rather you separate these out. I would rather have this a separate ad set, this a separate ad set, this a separate ad set. All 10 of these should be separate ad sets. If you've got 50 different audiences on your spreadsheet, you should probably have 50 different ad sets inside your ads manager as you're starting out. Now, if you have like, let's say this is, I don't know what will come up in this search, but let's just see what happens here. Let's put my contact. So that didn't even come up. So let's do where'd it go? Here it is. Let's do.
Hey Keith, I'm back on the phone. So
Okay, cool.
FYI.
Cool, you sound good. So I'm walking them through right now the whole organization of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just put I just put email marketing, but it didn't. Let's just put Aweber. No, hold on. If this doesn't come up good, then it doesn't matter. I can still explain this without. All right, so let's just say we have we want to start targeting these audiences here, okay? And let's say iContact is here, Aweber is here, MailChimp is here, okay? Then you got Ryan Dice, James Wedmore, and all this stuff. Well, iContact and Aweber are pretty much the same, in my opinion, are exactly the same. They're just 2 different companies. So when I told you if you've got like 50 different audiences and you want to know what data you're getting, which ones are giving you a certain cost per lead, then I think you need to separate them out especially at the beginning when you're trying to just gather data. Even though maybe if you combine 7 of them, in the end, you're going to have a larger audience and be able to take advantage of Facebook's optimized bidding. Yes, in most cases, that's going to be better for you. But to be able to optimize and like take a cost per lead from like $8 to maybe $6.50 or $5 down to like, 3.5 or 4 because you're using Facebook's optimized bidding is not even worth it compared to the data you're gathering at the very beginning of actually understanding which interests are giving you a certain cost per click and certain cost per lead or cost per sale. So you're going to be way better off of having actually maybe having a little bit higher cost per lead. You never know. You might end up finding out that you're better off separating them out anyways. But it's going to be always better off if you have a newer campaign to separate out these as much as you can so you can start getting that data. Then once you start getting conversions and starting to see, then you can start experimenting and you can start combining like Ryan Deiss, James Wedmore, Frank Kern, digital marketer, social media ag genius, right? All 4 of these or 5 of these, maybe 6 or 7 of these into one campaign, maybe put 3 of them in and overlay with a lookalike audience. But I would rather you get this data and start out with them separate ad sets so you can start to see what's happening. Because you might find if you put 4 guys together, that the average cost per lead is $9, but you don't really realize it. One of those guys is the one that's costing you 19, bringing that average up from 5 to 9, but it's only one of those audiences out of the 4 or 5 that's screwing it up. You don't know that if you start out grouping things together too soon. You have to start out separating things out or you'll never know. So this is really important. So, but there's always a fine line. Like let's say you only have $40 a day to deal with to start with. You can't have 40 different ad sets. You're going to be on $1 a day budget per ad set because your budget and your bidding is on the ad set level, right? It is. In case you're new, that's how you create your budgets that way. So if you're going to create, 50 different ad sets, you have to have 50 different daily budgets. So take that into consideration too. But I would rather you just always be thinking about how can I be learning while I'm spending money, because you have to look at this as a long-term thing. Right now, Facebook ads gives you better data than anything in the world. So you could run surveys, you could do phone calls, you could do all this stuff, but why not just spend the money on Facebook and get the data and start to optimize? So really think about this as a combination of using their tools and then using your actually campaigns to get data. And then you can really, once you start to get conversions, using the lookalike audience is a game changer. So does that make sense, Ralph?
Yeah, one thing I'll add, and I'll just keep asking if everyone can hear me, because now I'm paranoid. But can you hear me all right, Keith?
Yep.
Yeah, all right, cool. One thing you have to keep in mind is that, like, if you're doing Ryan Deiss, James Wedmore, Frank Kern, digital marketer, you're probably going after, there's a lot of duplication between those interests. So, I definitely agree with starting off with individual interests if you can. There's exceptions to that rule in some cases, but in general, you're going to get the best data that way. But once you start to get your conversions in, that's when you really can harness the power of the conversion pixel and the lookalike audience. But bear in mind that if you have one ad set that's Ryan Deiss is your interest, one that's James Wedmore, one that's Frank Kern, there's going to be people in those groups that you're duplicating. So if there's too much overlap between them, Facebook may not give you impressions on whichever ad set they pick is the one that's maybe most superior.
Right.
And we've seen that happen as well. So I think it really does depend on how big your interests are. I think Ryan Deiss is like 40,000, Frank Kern is like 50 or 60,000. So those are healthy to start off with. But if your ideal customer is in an interest where it's like 10,000 people or even smaller than that, then you may have to combine really similar ones, smaller ones together into that ad set to figure out if it's going to convert. That's really the one exception to
exactly. Yeah.
So.
And then and if you just so just always take all this stuff with a grain of salt, and you don't have to do it exactly like it. Just try to be learning as much as you can. So a lot of cases we'll start out because we know we don't have the budget, so we just start out with a few audiences and we do some more combining. And we wish we wish we could do more, but we can't. So no big deal, right? Get some data, get some conversions, learn some more, scale some more. So let's go to the search. I like the search. It looks like they switched it back. They made it easier again. if you look at my search here, pages liked by people who like Dominate Web Media. For a while there, they were making this really hard to find the answers. You had to click like see more over here. Looks like they just recently changed this again, which is cool. Back to the old way. This is great because it actually gives you kind of different data than Audience Insights sometimes. So it's just another way to get more data, and you can start to scroll down and you can see different results. And you can do a lot of things like this too, which is great. So you can do pages liked by people who like Dominate Web Media and Tony Robbins, right? So then I can do that. And now I'm looking at fairly similar results in that case, but maybe I want to do something like Chamber of Commerce. I don't want local. Let's do that one. And that's kind of, but see the different results you get here. You can start to see different types of results. You can keep doing this. You can keep adding ads and ads. You can do local stuff. You can do pages liked by people who like Dominate Web Media and live in the United States or live in Seattle, Washington, right? So, and you can do searches. You can do like people searches. You can do like, if you have a local business, you can do local searches, and you can also do people, like people who like. So I can do people who like Dominate Web Media and live in Seattle if I want. But and then it'll actually show people that like Dominate Web Media. Of course, I can see more, but all those types of things. So, but what it does here is it actually like all the searches, whether it's people or it's businesses are searching for pages, it really tries to personalize it. So like, let's just go back to pages. Pages liked by people who like Dominate Web Media. Now, if I do this search, I'm going to get different results than Ralph is, right? Because Ralph has different friends than me, and he likes different pages than me. Probably going to get similar results because we're in a similar business, but let's say if I have a client, like let's say pages liked by people who like, I don't know, real estate investing or something like that. And Ralph, you go ahead and do your search for this on your screen.
Yep.
And then I actually might give you can I give you controls, because there was a couple things that we were going to show with the lookalike stuff. Is that up? Next.
Yeah, hold on. Let me just put on my my headset here. Hold on one second.
Okay. But the point is his results are going to be different than mine. So you have to be, this is like, they personalize this. So sometimes we'll take a client on and I'll do this search and I'm like, oh crap, like they're showing Frank Kern. Like, what? Are you kidding me? That doesn't make sense. It's because I have so many friends that like Frank Kern. See how it says Betty Rocker, Ralph Burns, and 585 friends like this? So it tries to personalize these searches as much as possible, but it also tries to make them, good results too. It shows this one first, which is weird. Sometimes it'll show like all like stuff that you're like, doesn't really make any sense. But typically you can start to scroll down and get to some better results. It just depends. So sometimes not. Sometimes this doesn't work that well if it's a totally different audience than you. So just take that into considerations when it comes to that. So so let's see here. So that's one thing good to do there, and then you're just going to start getting more and more data. So
yeah, I get different search results than you do.
Yeah, so can I give you controls?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Okay.
Yeah, so you can see that mine is different. Just based upon my activity on Facebook, I guess is really sort of the, one of the big reasons for it. I mean, real estate investing is one of the things that I am interested in, so it would make sense. I mean,
his results are better than mine,
liking.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, these are all really good right here. So there's a definite difference, but some of them every once in a while you'll just have something in here that's totally irrelevant that you'll just sort of have to take take out. I've also clicked on lots of ads with regard to real estate investing. So this is actually a really good niche to kind of show you guys that there is a big difference between the two, because one of the businesses we have is a real estate investing business. So so it is going to depend. I mean, Facebook is highly personalized. The algorithm's always working, and it's always trying to personalize your results as much as possible. So
Cool.
did you do anything else you want to do with graph search here, or is that pretty much most of it, or you want to get into the lookalike audience stuff?
Yeah, let's get into the lookalike audience stuff. Actually, we're already we're already pretty good into this. So let's get into it. We're already 48 minutes in. So
okay. Yeah. So I mean, I think what we were talking about before is if you do structure your campaigns for one interest per ad set, ideally. And let me just sort of show you an example of one that we did, and we're reverting back to this now. This is a coaching client. This is probably one of the better campaigns that we set up. It was from last year, and we're reverting back to this strategy now, where we actually stratified out individual interests plus gender, and then also some overlays. So you can actually see in each one of these ad sets here, there's an individual interest. Now this guy just happened to have a much larger budget. I mean, a couple $1,000s a day. So we could afford to get some conversions that were not really where he wanted to be. So something like this, $13, was not a great conversion number. They wanted to keep their conversions under $10 for this particular campaign. But you see how we did it. We did it. This one right here is kind of action coaches and some other sort of interest kind of grouped together. This one right here is Brendan Burchard alone, because his was, really small, really big. And, this one down here, Success Magazine, this actually was so big, we actually put what we used to call similar audience overlay on it. So it really sort of depends on your market. And I think I just sort of answered a couple of questions in the chat about the fact that if you do have interests, really highly targeted interests that are, specific to your page, then you want to get those individual small interests and put them together to create sort of a larger audience, an audience that's big enough for you to get some good data. So, and what would you say like the minimum size audience should be on Facebook now, Keith? What's your thoughts on that?
oh man, great question. I would say I still think if you can get it to at least 50,000 or more, that's going to be important. We used to say 50,000 to like 400,000 was a great like ballpark. Now with Facebook's optimized bidding and lookalike audience, like their pixel based conversion bidding, we would rather have really big audiences in a lot of cases, like 200,000 to a million more like. But when you're talking about you're at the beginning stage, right, and you're just learning data, and you're you have a lot of ad sets separated out, you might have a lot of 10,000, 15,000 person audiences. It doesn't matter because your goal isn't necessarily to get the lowest cost per lead initially. It's more to figure out, is this a $25 cost per lead or cost per customer, or is this a 5, right? And so it's not really all about optimization at the beginning. So as you start to get data, and if you want to keep things kind of separated out for a while, if you have at least a couple 100,000, it's a fairly better sweet spot than having 40 or 50,000. So, but it's a really hard question to answer because in some cases we'd rather have 2 million in the audience if we're running. We've got a lot of conversions, and we know the audiences that are in there are working, or it's just a lookalike audience. Does that help?
Yeah, and I think that's good for people to keep in mind is that when you have lots of conversions, let's say you've got, like the campaign I'm going to show you right now has, I would say, tens of thousands of conversions on one pixel. So we've hit that pixel with all kinds. We're at it's a very mature campaign. It's further on down the road. We've already done our initial research. It's in the book writing niche and the writing niche. And we've got tons and tons and tons of conversions on that pixel. So that pixel is really smart. So basically from Facebook's standpoint, the conversion pixel, don't just think of it as a way to track your effectiveness of your ads, because it definitely is, but think of it as sort of this living, breathing, thing that in essence, every time a customer or somebody on Facebook lands on a page and it fires that pixel, the pixel then it gets smarter and smarter as to who your ideal customer is to target. So using that, what you want to do is sort of the next evolution of this. Once you sort of do your first phase of, okay, I'm going to do individual ad set for interests, maybe a few interests together that are super similar in my niche. But once I get 100 conversions, maybe 200, the more the better, you should really start thinking about creating a lookalike audience with that. And I'm not sure, if you want me to get into like how that's actually done, Keith, or we just sort of show an example of it.
Let's just show an example of it. We've got tutorials in the members area for how to create lookalike audiences. You can go there and watch those.
Okay. Yeah. So basically we've got a campaign that's going right now for a client that we've got all kinds of lookalike audiences. Basically, we have not gone after interest for them for a long time. They've got a threshold of cost per lead of under $10. So we're using lookalike audiences. This is very, very mature. We're looking lookalike audiences off two separate things. A lookalike audience off their primary conversion pixel, okay, which is this one right here. This is the old CBR pixel right here. I tried it with a new pixel and it didn't really convert all that well, but we're gonna wait a little bit more until it gets smarter. But this is a conversion pixel that I created a lookalike audience, a 1% in the US and a 5% in Canada. Okay, you guys can go into the training area if you don't know how to do that. But this pixel has tens of thousands of hits on it, so it's really smart. So as you can see, we've got 97 conversions just in the last week at about $10 per conversion, which is pretty good. We want to get it under that, but we're optimizing it. So in essence, that entire campaign, I think it's this one that's right here, is all it is this one actually does have a little bit of an overlay on it. It really is just their lookalike audience off their pixel with an overlay and a little bit of extra stuff based upon what their ideal target is. So it's basically a lookalike audience with just one interest and then some identifiers in it that are specific to their ideal customer. They know that their ideal customer is college educated, is between the ages of 40 and 54. So we have this one campaign going right here, which is going pretty well, which has the lookalike audience, a couple of these excluded audiences that they don't want to target, and then an overlay for interests, as you can see right there, which is this writing interest, college grad, and then they basically exclude their page. On some of the other campaigns that we have here, we don't even have writing or an actual interest as an overlay. When we talk about overlays, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about using a lookalike audience, okay, off a conversion pixel, and then this would be the overlay right there. In this case, we just added in that college grad thing because we know that those are ultimately going to be their best customers. So I think it's on this one. I'll open this one up. That there is no interest whatsoever on it. It's just a lookalike audience, and it's a little bit on the high side as far as conversions go. This is just a lookalike audience off their buyers. Okay, so this is probably even a better. There's another one here that's for leads. I'm just showing you this one. This probably has this is a custom audience of their buyers that they upload automatically, and it auto updates every time somebody buys their product. And now there's, how many buyers do you think they have, Keith? Upward of, probably 1,000, I would say.
More than that, probably. Yeah.
Probably more than that. Okay, at least 1,000. So this is a very large list, and we use this
$1,000 product.
It's a $1,000 product. So we use that custom audience. We create a lookalike audience off that buyer's list. If you have a lead list, you can do the same kind of thing. Okay, and as you can see, I'm sort of testing 3 separate ads here, and this one right here this ad, this particular creative, is the one that's right around our cost per lead. So, we've got a fairly large budget here. I might actually up that a little bit now that I'm seeing that this is converting where I need it to convert. The relevance scores aren't super great, which means that we're not getting as much traffic as we probably want to it, which is probably a subject for a whole other webinar. But the point is that we're beyond the point of even doing any sort of interest targeting. So this is where you will kind of want to be. This is where, when we talked about this initially, when you start off Facebook advertising, you want to figure out, okay, what are my interests? What are my demographics? But always think in the back of your mind, I want to use Facebook as much as I possibly can and use their brain power to create lookalike audiences off my conversion pixel. So get at least 100 conversions off your lead or your sale or whatever it happens to be. Create a lookalike audience of that, and then target that specifically back into your ads. And that's where we're seeing the best conversions right now, is using either the lookalike audience on its own, in this case, or maybe a lookalike audience with another broad overlay of something that's very similar to what your target niche is. Another one we did over here was this one. For example, this was one that was for a coaching client, which I think I showed you guys before. And you can see there's a similar audience. This is off a conversion pixel or a lookalike audience. We used to call them similar audiences. We call them lookalike audiences, obviously. And then we overlaid it with a coaching interest. Coaching is a huge interest. It's probably, 5-6 million people, I would say, easy. So we did both together, created a much more narrow focused target group, and got conversions where we wanted to be. And this one was, they wanted under $10. So that was a real good one. So the conversion pixel, I would say, as far as the types of lookalike audiences that we favor, if you have a custom audience, you have a buyer's list that's large, definitely create a lookalike audience off that, first things first. If you have a lead list, upload that into a custom audience in Facebook, create a lookalike audience off that, without a doubt. But I think the most powerful lookalike audience is the one that Facebook gives you, which is they'll ask you, when you start putting in which list you want to pull from, use your conversion pixel, but it has to have at least 100 hits on it. The more hits it has on it, the better. Because Facebook is now remembering everyone who has ever hit that pixel or landed on that page and fired that pixel. It's remembering it in that audience, so that you can then target those specific folks, either with an overlay or not an overlay, like we show here. Does that make sense?
Yeah, there's a question here. I'm not sure, okay, if I understand it right, but it says, if Ralph could talk about creating 100 conversion lookalike audience, target them with a new conversion pixel in an interactive way, how does that work, please? Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a little bit, it's almost like we need a whiteboard for that one, but that's, I think I know who's asking that question.
We could do it by creating, and kind of show them in the actual, creating a lookalike audience.
What you want, like if you have, let's say you're in I think the example that was used is that the product was very similar to Warren Buffett, the avatar, the interest group. So, but when you put in Warren Buffett into Audience Insights, you get nothing really having to do with investing. A lot of it is, like conservative political groups, that kind of stuff. So the idea behind the strategy is that if you don't have the exact perfect interest that Facebook is giving you for your particular avatar, then do as best as you can to do your interest targeting like we talked about before. And then get as many conversions as you possibly can off those interests, okay? And create a custom audience off that conversion pixel. Then create a lookalike audience, remove that conversion pixel off your thank you page, create a new one, and then create an additional 100 conversions and create a lookalike audience off that pixel. In theory, it should be more targeted because you've now got sort of 2 layers of targeting on that second pixel. So it's a little bit more complicated, and we just started doing that on the client that I just showed you guys, and it didn't work as well as we wanted. We need that pixel to be seasoned a little bit more. So I basically pulled it out. It had about 100 conversions on it, so I did it sort of fast. But now I'm waiting for about 400 or 500 conversions on it. I'm going to create a new lookalike audience off that, and then start targeting that particular group. That's a little bit more complicated, but I think I know who asked the question. But hopefully that answers. Is that clear, Keith?
Yeah, totally. So let's see here. And another thing that we'll do sometimes, this is more of a targeting thing really, but is the more like different percentage lookalikes you create, the better sometimes. So what you can do, if you go ahead and go to the audiences tab. On your, Ralph.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Click on audiences.
The screen was frozen.
Okay. And then, or you can just do it from where you were, but okay.
Yeah, actually, I want to do it from this one right here. So.
Yeah. Why don't you just click on where you just were? Just click on audiences on the left side.
Okay. This page here.
So go ahead and click on create audience.
Mm-hmm.
Lookalike. And so go ahead and just pick one there. See, all leads all time wasn't showing up in audience insights when I was doing it earlier.
That's wild.
Yeah, none of these were showing up. I don't get it. But anyways, so now what he's got right here, if he just has create audience, they're going to create an audience and it's going to say all leads all time lookalike 1%. And it's going to be about 2.4 million people if it's in the US in this case. So we call that a 1% lookalike, right? So now let's say he creates another one and slide it over to 5 million or 4.8. 5. 4. Okay, hover over it again though. There you go. So see where it says 4.8, it's about 5 million, 4.8 million. If he hits create audience right now, that's going to be all leads all time 2%. So what you can do is you can actually target people after a while. Let's say you've exhausted it or say you want to test something different. You can have an audience that's targeting people, the all leads all time 2% list, and then excluding the all leads all time 1%.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can create, or let's say if you're in a smaller area, or if you're doing like a bunch of overlays, or you're in a different country where these audiences aren't as big, you can do like a 5% or maybe like a 10%, excluding the 5% or all the other ones above. So you can start to kind of do that as you try to scale out and test different audiences. This is another way you can use lookalike audiences. So
cool.
Yeah, and this client we actually have done that. So we have like a Canadian, like they sell in Canada too. So we've got one ad that's going, which is a Canadian 5%, but I exclude the 2% because in Canada it's not, these audiences are much smaller. So, and that's actually doing really well. We want it to do better because it's coming in at $4 or $5 a lead. We're just not getting the volume because the relevance score isn't super high. But yeah, it's a great strategy to do it. Like we did a 2% Canadian for them, and then we sort of exhausted that one, and then we created this one here, which is a 5%. So now I have it running 5%, excluded 2%. So basically I get that audience between 2 and 5% as my new targets because we're just continually scaling it out. And this client wants 200-300 leads a day, and we're at about 120 right now. So we still want to scale it out. So we're constantly pushing Facebook to give us more and more and more impressions. But yeah, that's an awesome way of doing it. A little bit more advanced, once you figure out who your interests are, and now you're kind of letting Facebook do the work for you.
There's with that campaign, there's a lot of other issues that we want to be doing that can't be doing, like content amplification, different offers, and we're not doing any of that yet, which we want to be doing. It's a whole nother issue. Like Ralph mentioned, a whole nother webinar.
Yeah.
When you're running the same offer to the same audiences for 2.5 years, it starts to get difficult. Low cost per leads. So.
Yeah. With no content, which is exactly what Facebook wants right now is content. So.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see here. I think that's a lot. I mean, we've already went over the hour. Do you have anything else you want to add? I think we're pretty good to wrap it up. I don't like to keep these too long. So.
No, if anyone is confused by that last strategy we talked about, just put a thread in the Facebook group. I've got to hustle off to grab my kids, but I think that's something that is a little bit more advanced. But if you guys have specific questions on that, we're testing it out with a bunch of different campaigns right now, and they're not always converting where we want them to. So, but if you've got questions on any of that sort of stuff, just post to the Facebook ads group.
Sure. Cool. So. Okay, so yeah, totally, and I appreciate it, Ralph. There's a question from Jamie here. Can you end up with some advice to beginners? Okay, my best advice there would be to basically go back to the beginning of this call where we were going into the audience insights. Spend your time in two places: audience insights and Ralph, did you have that? Yeah, pull up that spreadsheet real quick. The master audience one. When we were gonna show that, but we were having audio issues and stuff earlier. So create a Google Doc spreadsheet like this, and you can just start out like that. Boom. You can start out listing them all, and then like I said, if you've got like 3 different main avatars, you can start to kind of list those different interests and different audiences. And so what you're gonna find is you might, after audience insight searching in Facebook search, let's say you come up with like 60 or 80 different audience interests, right? Well, not all those are actually going to show up in your ads manager as audiences. Maybe 60 or 70% of them will. Sometimes it's just not an interest. It just doesn't show up. You're like, well, this guy has 60,000 fans. Why isn't it an interest? I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. But you're going to take kind of your gut feeling with what you know about your audience, and I would say if you starting out, maybe take the top. If you can, at least the top 10, and create like 10 separate ad sets where you can have those interests as your main audience. And that's where you're going to start, basically. Start with your top 10 or 20 interests that you get with this research, and create 10 or 20 different ad sets in Facebook. Start running some low budget campaigns and seeing what the data is bringing you. Now, inside the members area, we've got tutorials in there to talk about how to organize your campaigns and how to upload these and all that stuff. So take this and then go in and watch the videos on how to actually create your first campaigns, and you'll be good to go. So, but any other questions that are beginner stuff, if anything was over your head, do not hesitate to bring it to the group, please. And actually, Ralph and I, we've just been kind of like huddling in the last day about different times and how we're going to be doing this. But we've come up with some good ideas of for us. We're busy with lots of stuff going on, but for us to be even more consistent, we've got some other admin or kind of group moderators coming into the group, but also we're going to be more even in there faster too, which is we're excited about answering questions. So bring them to the group and then get in there and consume. I mean, it's just, you got to get in. The fastest way to learn this stuff is do it, by the way. Ask Bree, Betty Rocker, ask anybody, ask me. Even if you don't have your campaigns ready, your budgets ready, getting in the ads manager, getting in the Power Editor, and actually just starting to try to submit stuff, it'll all start to make more. All the stuff will start to go from a foreign language to a regular, language that you understand. So that's the key. So this is recorded. We'll have the recording up by late tonight. You should see it, and we'll send you guys a message in the group. So Other than that, we're going to go ahead and end it. So hope you guys will have a great rest of your week and a good weekend. Talk to y'all soon. Bye.
See you guys.